See, we've got people joining us now.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, I'm not just
see a couple of faces.
Just not thinking about that.
Fabulous. Hello and welcome to the first module of the Institute of Health and Social Care Management's Women in Leadership Development Programme. We're delighted to have you with us today to start this journey of 8 modules designed by members for members. Before we get started, I just want to take 5 minutes to discuss the importance of this series. So over the course of the 8 modules, we'll explore 4 key themes which our members have identified as essential to their growth as leaders. That is resilience, inclusion, well-being and conflict. We will share sector insights, lived experiences, honest reflections and personal stories to help us navigate the unpredictability of the sector, to help us understand how clarity, connection and collaborative strength can create stability in turbulent times. You may have seen in Roy Lilly's e-letter this morning where he references the evolution of Davos in the Swiss Alps, which for those who didn't know is home to the World Economic Forum. I mention this as it's akin to the women in leadership who are continually adapting to shifting expectations and complex landscapes. If you get the chance to read the article, Charlotte will pop a link in the chat box and I do encourage you to read it. Please, we also take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself in the chat box, connect with one another, and if you can, please turn on your camera. It'd be lovely to see your faces and get that connection in the room today. We also want you to feel comfortable, whether you're speaking or typing your thoughts, your reflections and your brilliant practices that some of us can pinch with pride. So we want your full interaction today. We are joined by Liz and Claire, who are familiar faces from last year's Women in Leadership Conference. This is the first workshop in the series and I know you will welcome them warmly. Our aim today is to provide you with the practical tools to support you in becoming adaptable, confident leaders who thrive in uncertainty. And before we start, I just want to check you can access Slido. This will be where we do our activities with anonymity. So please be honest, but also respectful. And if you've got any issues, please use the chat box and my colleague Charlotte is on hand to support you. With that, I'm pleased to hand over to Liz and Claire to get us started, and we'll be finishing by 1:30 today. Liz and Claire, over to you. I'm going to bring up your slides now.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much for inviting us. Before we get started, we'll just introduce ourselves really briefly. Although we were at the conference last year, you may or may not have been on the presentation that we were on before. We're also quite nervous. This is just an exercise for us in growth, as you know, kind of sitting and listening and learning to adapt. So we're not natural public speakers. So we're really, you know, we're using this opportunity to really grow our own skills in the area that gives us a lot of fear. So. To start with, I'm Liz. I'm Head of Marketing and Recruitment for Right at Home GF. This is all-encompassing for 4 territory areas, so it's a franchise home care agency. I've got 20 years professional experience behind me, but I joined Health and Social Care only maybe 5 years ago in May. I drive the marketing strategy and recruitment efforts for Right at Home, so ensuring that we are visible within the community for potential clients, and also really ensuring that we are a great place to work for carers as well. I've worked alongside investors in people to make sure of that. I'm passionate about our company's mission and our values, and I align my work with my own values of integrity, compassion and well-being.
And I'm Claire Skilton, so I'm Head of Compliance at Right at Home, where I see compliance across all the 4 offices. I returned to education as a mature student to feel my passion for making a difference to other people. Before joining Right at Home, I worked in the charity sector, supporting unpaid carers and their family. As a mother of 4, I believe I balance leadership with empathy, integrity, and human-centered values.
So that's us. So what to expect today? Next slide, please, Jade. So this session sits within the kind of Me, Myself and I series that we started working on last year. So it's really intentionally personal. Today isn't just about leadership theory alone, and it's definitely not about perfect leadership. Okay, we're not perfect leaders, but it's really about how we have shown up as human beings and how we have grown, and therefore we've been able to lead others through uncertainty. Our session today is called Adaptive Leadership, and we're really building upon the presentation from last year, which was building confidence, capability and connection. So you'll hear both of us share on our own leadership journeys, the good bits, the uncomfortable bits, and what we've learned along the way. Today was going to be really reflective and interactive, as Jade mentioned. So we'll be sharing some of our lived experiences. There'll be some light touch leadership models, and we'll hopefully offer some practical tools as well, which work for us in real life. So not just theories and ideas. So we'll be using the chat, polls and breakout rooms where we can. Really want you to, you know, be having a two-way discussion with us as well. So it's not just us kind of talking to you or talking at you, and there's no pressure to share anything that you're not comfortable with though, and please just take from today whatever works for you. So next slide please, Jade. So like with all good presentations, we can have a bit of an icebreaker first up. So we're going to be using the word cloud. There is no right or wrong answer here. We just want your instinctive response. So feel free to add a word or short phrase in the chat or to the word cloud. What comes to mind when you hear the term adaptive leadership? So for me, for example, I think change and surprises. I always find I'm adapting like on the hoof, but you know, when I'm least expecting it. So yeah, it'd be great to hear from you what you hear when you think adaptive leadership. Oh, responsive and dynamic. Yeah. Supportive. Yeah, I think definitely, you know, having that empathy, being able to think about the person, perhaps if it's a conflict or something like that, think about you know, how we can best support.
I can see we've got some coming through on Slido as well now.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was a slight delay on my end in sharing that.
No
so we've
worries.
got flexible, listening, challenging, improving, supportive, resilience. I think that's type of complex. I can see more coming through now as well.
Listening.
Being able to respond to change, interactive, informative.
What's the wicked issues?
We've got compassionate. I think that's servant leadership. Resilience coming through really big now. So lots of people typing in resilient.
I think that's the one, isn't it? It's very, I think it's quite difficult to, when you're having to adapt and change, like it can be quite hard to be resilient to that, I think, definitely. And something that Claire will touch upon later is adapting during COVID. And actually I joined the company just after COVID, but it was in that kind of health and social care recruitment crisis, and we had to be so adaptive. We also had to be really resilient to those challenges as well. It was quite a tough balance between being really resilient and really adaptive.
I'll just read a few more. Calm, responsive is coming through very strong and big now as well. Protective, listening, critical, diplomatic. Lots of different qualities there. I'll bring your slides back up. Feel free to continue adding to this. We will share the resources post-event so you can see all of these words that are being added. So that'll stay live throughout today's session.
Yeah, I think what was really nice about that is actually all of the words that were coming through really felt like it was connection with what the adaptive leadership needed to be. So, you know, lots about trust and compassion and support. And I think that really comes from that kind of connection and teamwork as well, and kind of team bonding and being empathic with the people that we work with. So thank you so much for that. So next up is Claire. If we could go to the next slide, please, Jade. And Claire is going to talk on adaptive leadership, the big picture.
Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to give a quick overview here of a framework called, here we go, I've got to get this correct because obviously it's Cynefin, which you don't need to memorize, but it's a helpful way to understand why leadership can feel uncomfortable. It reminds us that not all problems are the same, so they shouldn't be led in the same way. So the framework has something called clear, where the situation is stable and the answer is obvious. And the approach we use for that is we follow the rules. Then we have complicated. There are right answers, but they require expertise. And again, the approach we would use at this point would be to analyze and plan. Then we have complex, which there are no right answers, but they require expertise. Complex. There's no clear right answer, and patterns only emerge afterwards. And that's where we experiment and adapt our ways of working. In health and social care, we often fail when we try to solve complex human problems with clear, rigid checklists. In a complex space like managing staff morale or client mental health, cause and effect only may make sense in hindsight. This is usually where imposter syndrome shows up, because we think we should know the answer, but the job here isn't to know, it's to listen, learn, and test. If you're leading in complexity and it feels uncomfortable, you aren't doing it wrong, you're doing real leadership. This is something John explores more in much more depth in the IHSCM course on systems leadership. It's a theme that came through strongly at our recent conference. Leaders are being asked to adapt themselves first, rather than just their organisations. It's about adjusting how you lead, rather than expecting certainty when it simply doesn't exist. In complexity, certainty is rare. Leadership becomes about learning, listening, and adapting.
Thank you. And I think, you know, what really kind of comes out there is that you know, when we've got something complex, we're not ready for it. We can often kind of doubt ourselves, and that was something that came up in our previous presentation. But we're also going to touch upon today as well that kind of imposter syndrome and, you know, not feeling quite ready for these changes. But first up, we're going to have some breakout rooms. So if we could have the next slide, please, Jade. So Claire and I are going to share some case studies of our own later on, but it would be great if we could hear from you guys first of all about a time that you had to adapt your leadership style, what changed and what did you learn about yourself. So I think really it's really good to kind of understand what you think your own leadership style is. But then think about a moment when you didn't have all of the answers and then you were stepping into something new, or, you know, you weren't sure what the outcome was going to be, or you were responding to a situation that didn't go as planned. You know, what happened? How did you change yourself, and what was the outcome, and did it sit well with you as well? I think that's the other thing as well. You know, we've got our own values, but we want to make sure that when we're adapting, we're still working with our own values too. So yeah, we're going to break into rooms of, I'm not sure, but Jade's going to do that actually.
We've got 8 breakout rooms, so you'll be split off into groups of 4. We've allocated up to 10 minutes for this activity, as it be the first time that you're meeting your fellow delegates. So please do introduce yourself, your background, get to know each other during that 10 minutes, and think about those times where you've had to adapt your leadership. What was the challenges? What did you learn about yourself? What would you do differently next time? And what would be your advice to those in the room with you? And then we'll feed back after those 10 minutes as a wider group. So my colleague Charlotte has allocated you whilst we've been talking, and she's going to open up the breakout rooms now, and you'll seamlessly move to your group. Have a great conversation all.
Great.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, go back.
Oh, bye.
Hello all, it sounds like you've been having some great conversations. We can still hear that you're unmuted.
Wonderful. Welcome back, everybody. So we would like to take this opportunity to see if some of you would be happy to feedback and tell us about the emotions that maybe came up during your conversation. Is anybody happy to start this?
Oh, just a caveat, although this is being recorded, you know, we won't, Jade has said she'll edit out this part of the conversation. So just in case you're a bit worried about sharing and it being out there for everyone to see, that won't be the case. So yeah, it'd be great to hear from each room actually what came up. Okay, so I wanted to just touch on imposter syndrome. I mean, look, I think everybody has imposter syndrome. I don't know anybody that's kind of 100% confident in every single thing that they do, because you know we're always trying to challenge ourselves. And I definitely do think it is a female thing as well, you know, that we do feel less than, or feel like we need to prove ourselves more. But you know, for me, imposter syndrome has shown up many times in my career, whether it's been stepping into a leadership role, moving sectors as I have done, or just being the new person in the room. I actually fell into marketing completely by accident, really. I just left uni and I'd got a job in a warehouse, and my boss liked me. You know, he just saw something in me that I was fresh out of uni and I was working in customer services, and he just said, look, you know, I'd really like you to try out doing our marketing. And you know, he gave me a chance. And for the longest time, although he saw something in me and thought I'd be really good at something, I didn't see it in myself. And I really kind of felt like I had to bring more to the table to prove that, you know, I deserved a space in marketing, particularly when I'd got kind of promoted and then headhunted to another company to do someone else's marketing. You know, there was always like, I had always had this feeling like somebody might catch me out, like they might know the truth. And I think it's actually part of the human experience, like I've said. But I've never been comfortable with that kind of fake it till you make it. Like, I would prefer to show that I am vulnerable, or I'm not sure what I'm doing, or I'm, you know, trying to figure things out here, because I think really leadership is about honesty, you know, brutal honesty sometimes. I don't know what I'm doing here, but we're going to try something for the best. And I think actually that is where there is strength in leadership, where there is you know, feeling fear but still doing it anyway. And I think, you know, I had the same when I joined the health and social care industry. I'd been working in promotional merchandise and advertising, so something completely different. And I was 40 years old. I'd worked at the same company for 10 years. I'd worked my way up to director, you know, to the top of my game. But I kind of woke up just before I was 40 and thought, if I continue here, I'm not doing life right. You know, I need to be doing something more meaningful. And you know, I joined Right at Home, which was a great step for me in terms of our values aligning and our ethos, and, you know, wanting to do something great for the community. But I definitely still had that, like, I've got to prove myself, because, you know, there were people that work for us that have been with the company for like 10, 15 years. There are people that have been, you know, they're in their late 50s and they've been working in the health and social care sector since they left school. There was definitely that. I definitely had that feeling of like, I am a fish out of water, you know, and that lasted for quite some time, to be honest with you. I think sometimes actually I've still got it, but what I do try and do now is recognize imposter syndrome for what it is, and that it's a sign that I am growing, and that I'm learning, you know, that I don't have all the answers. And like I said, you know, it's about adapting. It's about always being teachable, you know, even when we make mistakes. And so I don't let it walk into the room with me. So I lead from honesty rather than pretending I have it all together. So I think really for me, what I'm trying to say with that imposter syndrome is that adaptive leadership often means acting before you feel ready. You know, it's not often that you have a challenge come your way and you think, well, I've been perfectly prepared for this. You know, quite often it's when a challenge comes, it's like, oh, I've never had to do this before. So actually going into a situation and saying, I've never had to do this before, but I've done something similar, or I've got this experience, or this is where my instincts tell me to go, I think is really important.
Thank you. Can we have the next slide, please? Wonderful. So this obviously brings me into an example in regards to uncertainty and how it is often unavoidable in leadership, particularly in social care. And often we're working with incomplete information and demands and real human impact. So in March 2020, I felt like I was walking into what we could call the fog of care. As a leader, I'd always been taught to find solutions, but this was different. This wasn't a technical problem that we could resolve with a new policy or with a manual. This was an adaptive challenge, one that demanded a total shift in my heart and my entire approach. We were hit with a threat that fundamentally tested everything I believed in about leadership. I soon realised this wasn't just a personal challenge, but one that required adaptive leadership from all. COVID.
Yeah.
The challenge that defined us, the safety gap. The most immediate and overwhelming concern was the safety gap. Yes, it was about physical health, but for me, it was fundamentally about psychological safety. I watched our amazing carers wrestle with uncertainty, an internal conflict where their deep professional commitment to their clients was battling the fear of becoming a vector, of taking this virus home to their children and elderly parents. My job suddenly became less about operations and more about protecting their peace of mind. I'll never forget the sheer spread of change. Guidance was shifting every 24 hours, and we all quickly realised that in this environment, our value wasn't being the knower, the person with all the perfect answers. That person didn't exist at that time. Instead, the most crucial role was to be the sense maker, translating it into a shared language that made sense of the mess. So the leadership response from this, we created the triple communication strategy. We understood that a single email was going to fail because people process information very differently when they're under the level of stress. This led to the decision to anchor the team with a triple communication strategy. The memo, we established a memo as our single source of truth. This was technical, it was frequent, and it was essential. The team took the chaotic rapid-fire updates from health authorities and distilled them into clear, actionable, simple steps. This memo wasn't just information, it was the foundation that allowed our team to lead with certainty. Information is one thing, but empathy is another. We made sure to call our furloughed team members personally. We quickly learned that many were struggling to balance work with kids being at home from school. Hearing those personal struggles allowed us to throw out the old schedules and build new ones that actually supported them. The formal letter, finally, we needed to reassure our clients. The formal letter went to them and their families. While the world was spinning uncontrollably, these letters were designed to signal our stability. It was our promise to them. Right at Home is still here, and we have a steady hand on the wheel. Crucially, we chose to be honest about the things we didn't know. But by admitting we didn't have all the answers, the energy shifted. We balanced top-down fear with a culture of thinking as one. We weren't just the bosses and employees anymore. We were a team tackling an impossible puzzle together. The lesson of community. The results were a revelation. While burnout was tearing through the sector, our team stayed. They didn't commit because we had all the answers. They committed because they felt heard and protected. This was a profound lesson. In a storm, people don't need a leader who pretends to be the sun. They need a leader who is willing to step into the fog, admit the fear, and navigate it alongside them.
Thanks, Claire. So we just wondered, just a quick discussion prompt here of on listening to that, you know, there is quite a lot there about confusion, which you're having your own internal confusion. So we just wondered what helps you stay grounded when the path forward isn't clear. Yeah, Chloe.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for sharing. There's a lot of what you just talked about that really resonated, both from my memories of that period of time, but also Robin shared some of what we're experiencing at the moment, going through yet another organisational change, and that uncertainty and confusion and complexity is pretty much always there. I think, to specifically answer your question around what kind of helps and keeps you going and that sort of thing, it's things like this. It's having other people you can reach out to who have that empathy and can relate and understand and support you. But also, and a couple of other people mentioned it earlier, it's about having that time for yourself and making sure you're looking after yourself. If you're not doing that, then you cannot support your teams as well as you want to. So it's that sort of two-pronged aspect of looking inwards and outwards and finding that balance. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Chloe. Anyone
So we've
else?
got a couple of comments in the chat linked to imposter syndrome. So Sue says, completely agree. I worry more if people say they don't have imposter syndrome.
I think they might be psychopathic if they don't. That's actually what I believe.
And then a follow-up to imposter syndrome being a key factor, which Sarah, apologies, the team talk about their inner critic. Can we find then the volume to turn up our inner coach?
Yeah, honestly, you know, the inner critic, the life scripts that we give ourselves, you know, and I hear it in my team, and sometimes with this, you know, I talk the talk, I don't walk the walk, because my inner critic, I mean, gosh, it's like I hate myself, but I hear it from other people as well, and I'm constantly, you know, having to cheerlead for other people. I would love it if we just found a way to just switch it off. And maybe when we're talking about tools later, if anyone's got a tool to turn off that radio, that would be yeah, that would be fantastic to share. Please do.
And then Jenny has a comment. I think it's remembering why we are doing this in the first place. And I do have a question for both of you and for our audience as well. And it's going back to your statement about adaptive leadership means not being ready, but trying to do it anyway. We might not get it right, we might get it wrong. It's learning how to overcome these challenges. And that's why we're here together today, to learn from each other. So when you haven't got all of the information, and Claire, like you said, in the times of COVID, how do you navigate those situations? What are some of those top tips? So a question to both of you, but our audience as well. How do you navigate the unknown?
Well,
it's a deep question, and I know you're going to draw on it later on.
I know. I think like our next slide, the pause, sense, respond, that is probably really helpful, because I mean, I talk about pause, sense, and respond. I'm going to tell you, and Claire would tell you this as well, I react quite quickly to everything, and it's not always right. You know, it's a bit of a defect of mine. I am really reactive, even if I don't have all of the answers. But I find that when I pause, usually a lot of the time the answers just come themselves, you know, rather than me trying to fight for them or trying to fight for the control. Someone said break things down into smaller tasks, and you know, that's very, because quite often if we've got a big challenge coming up and we don't know, it can be really overwhelming, and it can be hard to see the real picture and how to respond when we've got like everything unknown.
I think it's worth saying as well that we're not leaders, we're not individuals. We should draw on the support of our teams as well, and listening to their answers, their problem solving, and coming up with a solution together as well is also important.
I can honestly say that at some points I've had an email that I want to respond to, and I've actually gone to Liz and she said, okay, just stop. Don't respond yet, because obviously you're in that moment where you just want to fire back.
Write it out and wait 24 hours. That's quite often my thing. And I think you can, we will be there.
As Fee says as well in the chat, it's remembering that it's not your job to fix everything. Try to prioritize the things you can influence and change, and then find peace with the things that you can't. And Jenny follows 100%. That up with remember your values and keep yourself grounded as well. I think that's a great point to pause for the time being. I'll bring back your slides.
All right, cool. So as I was saying, so this is the practical tool, pause, sense and respond. I'm really learning with this because I am reactive, and I really do now try and use this. So I especially pausing, especially when emotions are high. I think if you kind of go straight in trying to find a solution and it's not hitting the mark with the other person or the group, we can just escalate a situation. And I think especially when we're working with kind of bigger groups, it can be very easy to give arms and legs to everything. Sense what is really going on and who is affected. And I think that's really important here, is like really actually what is happening in this situation, what is the reality and the facts of a situation, and respond in a way that aligns with your values. So someone mentioned values earlier. I think that is really important. If I'm unsure what to do, I do take a moment and I talk to my trusted colleagues, definitely with Claire. She is I don't know whether it's because you're like a process person, but I think you look at things a lot more objectively to me. So it's really important to kind of get the opinion of somebody else that's maybe less biased or less involved. And I've learned that or sometimes I can just wait and the solution feels clear. That's not always the case, but I do find that slowing down helps me make more thoughtful decisions. And I think I try and find a way that leads with my company values and also my own values, because I think, and this is really important, is that if I go against my own values, or I feel like I haven't used integrity in what I have done, or maybe just maybe gone against what I think is right, I get that kind of, and the only way I can describe it is like that icky feeling, when kind of something hangs on and that you haven't done, that you haven't done the right thing, or your motive maybe wasn't quite right. And so I think if you can leave a situation without that icky feeling, then you've done the right thing. And I think the other thing is, when you're in a situation with other people, it's actually asking them what they think or what they would like the best solution to be. I don't have all of the answers, but what looks like a perfect solution in your mind? What would you like to see out of this? And I think what happens there is they start to see the bigger picture as well, and they can really see kind of what's going on and who is affected. If the next slide, please, Jade.
We've got a quick poll here. Did you want to bring the poll in before the next slide? Sorry. Yes.
I forgot. What is it? So this is just a really quick poll. I've said pausing is what I find the most tough, but I just wondered what you guys found the toughest: pausing, the sensing, or responding.
So we've got the Slido link again, if you can access that, and you can just answer the poll. Is the Slido gone on here? There it is. So just so we can see what people are clicking on together. As I said earlier on, this is anonymous.
Yeah, it's the pausing.
Oh, it's definitely the longest.
I think we're just, as leaders, we're so like results driven, solution driven, that we want to find that solution and equilibrium as quickly as possible. And I think sometimes not having that and sitting with that can actually feel so uncomfortable that we kind of move things faster than they need to be moved, so that it feels less uncomfortable.
Thank you. We'll jump back.
Don't have the time.
Yeah, we also feel we don't have the time to wait. We've got to move on to the next thing very quickly. That's quite often what happens.
I thought the dynamic was shifting slightly. Then I saw sensing was filling up a bit more, but no, definitely pausing is the leading so far. Let's go back to the slides. They should be up now for you.
Yeah, perfect. So it's just, oh yeah, it's coming through. So we just wanted to talk a little bit now about team resilience, and also the tools. We started touching upon those tools and tactics and things that we can do, so we wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit more. So just in terms of supporting team resilience here, I just picked out a couple of things that I found really interesting. I love LinkedIn Learning, so if you don't use LinkedIn for your learning, check it out. A gratitude list template is on there, and a wellness action plan. I'll kind of talk about those in a second, but for me, I believe that company culture comes from the top. I've seen what happens when leaders behave badly, and God, I've been on the receiving end of it, and it's horrible. It is horrible. But not only that, I think the wider team can quite often believe that behavior is acceptable, and they start acting like it themselves. You can see it with kind of gossip and stuff. So we really try and have awareness of that. So I think, and it's that awareness of who I am and how I behave and how that affects people around me is what I carry into the room. Because when we lead with kindness and self-awareness, we create capable teams, and we create cultures where people genuinely want to do their best.
Yeah. Resilience isn't about pushing through at all costs. It's built through psychological safety, trust, and compassion, paired with accountability.
And I think as well, we need to reframe what kindness can look like. I think it's not always about being soft. I think actually firm conversations and honest feedback is actually really kind. If somebody's not doing their job properly or performing to a high standard, if you do not have that honest conversation, it's actually really unkind to let them carry on thinking that they're doing okay. And I think sometimes, as hard as they are, even dismissals can be really kind. They're the kindest thing to do, and to say to somebody, this isn't a good match for you. You are not performing, even though it's horrible at the time. But actually, the kind of I have to do. I do quite often. I am the person that does the dismissals in the company. I think because I have this attitude, people think it comes easy to me. It doesn't. But when I say to people, this isn't the role for you. However, this is where you could sit really well, and kind of find a way to say, like, this is better that we kind of let you go, for you and for us. That is actually kindness, rather than keep trying to maybe what's the saying, square peg round hole, which we can quite often do because we think, oh, we'll just keep going, we'll just keep trying, and actually we just need a bit of honesty. And I think that resilience it's not about like, I'm resilient, I'm tough, or anything like that. It's about trust, safety, and clarity. I think that is really important, being clear with people as well. Next slide, please. So we're going to have some reflection time. Again, this is about kind of tools that we can use and we can take away. So this actually came from the previous presentation where I shared my own toolbox of practices. These practices, you know, they're like muscles, they need flexing. But I said at the time, and I'll say it now, I sound very twee, but I really do this. I would start the morning with a coffee and 10 things that I am grateful for. It sets up my day, it reframes my mind. We can often go into, what do I lack, what do I not have, what does someone else have. I am grateful for the things that I am grateful for, and my morning routine is essential for me. It's even if I'm doing the same thing as my partner that day, I have to get up half an hour before him so that I can have some peace. You know, I need that peace and quiet in my time. I always really try and tell people when they have done a good job, you know. And I think as well, I ask every person that I see that day, when I see them, not like strangers on the street, but in the working environment, how they are. I find that people really open up to me, and I think just that genuine act of you know, asking how somebody is, it builds confidence and connection. So for me, that, you know, it leads into that confidence doesn't come from certainty, but from the consistency, the honesty, and the values. So we thought it would be good that maybe you guys could share a practice that you could introduce tomorrow to strengthen your team's resilience or your own resilience. So whether it's gratitude practices, you know, strength spotting, or clear feedback as kindness. Whether you want to say it out loud or pop it in there. Yeah, Robin.
Thank you. Chloe's going to laugh at me now with what we're about to share, but I think that connection bit is really key. And I think recognizing that we're actually all humans that have things that we like to do outside of work. And sometimes when we come into the office, we're, you know, 9 to 5 sitting on calls on Teams all day, and it just feels so counterintuitive. And so I always like to talk about, like, you know, things that I've watched recently on TV, you know, like, and my TV taste is wildly different to Chloe's, but it's just like bringing that human element back to it, you know, like if you just sat, because, you know, I've been on meetings since 9 o'clock this morning, I haven't spoken to anyone, which is probably why I'm speaking now.
Let it all out.
Yeah, but I think it's, you know, it's that like actual face-to-face conversation, and even though we don't enjoy the same things, it's that it is the connection element which makes a really strong team. Yeah, I think that's, I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to know what your TV taste is like, though. It sounds curious.
No, you don't want to know. It's all reality.
Oh, okay.
It's reality TV nonsense.
I like Made in Chelsea is like my guilty pleasure, so don't worry. Yeah, Anu.
Hi, thanks, Liz and Claire. Really enjoying this and the different viewpoints. Really great to be here. Thanks. Just to add on to Robin's points, again, as I think somebody mentioned earlier, I'm at IHSCM England, where we're going through a lot of change and uncertainty. And I found it quite strange that in our immediate team, no one's been talking about the change program and things. It's just been like burying our heads in work and getting on with it. And I thought, oh dear. And you know, we've started various, you know, the process is, you know, it's moving along, and I don't think we need to spend time on it because it's a difficult subject. But what I did was I thought, okay, and I emailed our team lead for a team meeting and proposed, why don't we do something? There was a meeting, we have a monthly meeting with the whole team. Why don't we do something on personal leadership and resilience? So quite related to what we're doing today, talking about. And he came back with, yep, put in a slot tomorrow, the next day. So I had to quickly put some slides together. I thought, I show some personal leadership. And I think it was only for like 15, 20 minutes. I thought, I don't want to be talking for that time. I'm trying to work on my own resilience. But I think what helped others was I just looked at something and put some slides, and I actually had some mentee polls. How are people feeling about the program? And it was interesting. They were surprised. Some of the kind of senior managers in the team were surprised that people were feeling uncertain, and it was just nice to have that space. And I brought in that human element. What can you do each day just to manage your own well-being? Because if you manage your own health and well-being and how you're dealing with all this, it improves how you are with others. I've been reading about that as part of adaptive leadership, and I'm happy to say that it's something I really got into. I think Robin was a bit not keen, but in terms of telly, I thought it's an easy one. The Traitors. I'm just loving it. I had not seen the previous series, so but I think it's pure escapism, distraction, and it's gripping. It really is. And because it's on every night, like 2-3 nights in a row, you can't like kind of watch it on iPlayer or catch up later. You need to kind of be on, otherwise you're just saving up a hole, and it's like in the media and everything, isn't it? That's just something to distract us. And bringing that home an element, people were so good on that call in the team. We're talking about doing running and just little things, going for a walk, nothing extravagant. And I think bringing that human element and talking about things, but in a positive way. Not that, oh, we're going through this, we're all feeling really rubbish, because people are. So, yeah, no, it's just kind of trying to do something. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. I'm just looking in the chat box. I'll start with the first one just to keep in order. Jenny said she's thinking of introducing a Tell Me Something Good Tuesday to try and focus on the good things that are happening and celebrate the wins. It also means we can get to know each other better, because they are a small team anyway, but it will strengthen our connection. That's Jenny. Fee has also commented on connection being important. Finds it more challenging working from home and being on Teams all the time. So feeling inspired to think about how I can build some connection into my day and with my team outside of work stuff too. Joe's commented to say would love to have team away days, but they feel these are not supported as they should be. Jess, another small team in supported living. They do a lot of lone working, and sometimes it's tough with long shifts. She always tries to reach out if it's been a tough day, even if it's just sending an email to say thanks for what they've been doing, even chocolates, gift bags in the staff room for no real reason at all other than they've done really well. Robin, again, Chloe has built in scheduled breakfasts and lunches for the team to spend time together so people can enjoy whatever they want with least time in their diaries for what people want to do. Chloe's commented that as well. I think one more from Claudine as well. We have a team who are rarely all in at the same time, but we all make time on Tuesday mornings for a team meeting in person where we share our top 3 things, and it's often a time when we share a few laughs and reconnect, and it's important that we share those problems and agree solutions as a team. I think I've caught up on the chat box there for us.
And that's something we do in every meeting, isn't it? We actually talk about our business win and personal win, to share that when we have a meeting, because that's important for those connections.
Lovely. Thank you all so much for sharing. I think that's all of them. I can't see anybody chatting now. I'll bring your slides back up.
So this is it's the next slide, Jade. Oh, thank you.
There we go.
So this is just a couple of case studies, one from myself and one from Claire. This is fairly recent, and I've touched upon this earlier. So I have my direct team, and do you know what? They're great. They are really great women. They are high performers. They have always had positive attitudes. They've been with the company for a long time when we've had quite a high turnover of staff. So, really fantastic. And then I think it was towards the end of summer, each person was coming to me individually about one person in the group who was actually just being very negative in various different ways, but it was that it was becoming toxic. And then other people in the office could see it as well, you know. And I'll be honest, I this was all new to me. For me, I've always led my team in how shall I say? I want to say like friend. I've never had to kind of toe the line. I've always been able to just nip things in the bud, you know. And I tried speaking just directly to each person, giving them advice. I tried speaking to the person that it was all about to kind of give them direction, and do you know what, it wasn't working. What I was doing, the behavior wasn't stopping. In fact, it was getting worse. And I actually, this was a time where I did take a moment to pause. I spoke to Claire, I spoke to one of our other registered managers to see, you know, how they would deal with it, particularly you know, people that have got kind of larger teams than I. And I had to change my whole approach. And I got the whole team into the office, and I had to say, like, this is not good enough. And actually, attitude for me is just as what's the word I'm looking for? It is just as emotive for me as poor performance, you know. And that it's everyone's responsibility. It's your own responsibility, the energy you bring to work each day. And it felt hard. Yeah, and you could see that I was nervous, because I felt nervous kind of delivering this. But when I spoke to a member of the team who I really trust, who was in that meeting, and I said, how did that land? Did I get my point across? And they said, you could see you were nervous and you didn't want to be saying what you were saying, but that actually carried more weight, because it was obviously really important to put yourself out there in such a way that made you feel uncomfortable. And since then, you know, it took a little bit of time, but it's been so much better. And actually we have been able to pick up on some of that. Or, you know, maybe that person is still feeling very negative about work, but in which case that's for them to kind of resolve, as long as they're not bringing it to the rest of the team. So that is my kind of case study of adaptive leadership, and I know Claire's got one as well.
Okay, so I'm sort of taking it back a little bit. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I returned to actually college and then university as a mature student. So I was at a crossroads in my life. I was a mother of 4. I just lost my nan, who I was caring for, and my youngest child started school. And I had reached an adaptive challenge. I had to choice to stay in comfort of what I already knew, or adapt into the professional I wanted to become. The journey wasn't just about getting a degree, it was about rewriting my own story. So returning to the classroom felt like a risk. It took me a lot of courage to be a beginner again. I battled with my sense of worth and the fear that I had started everything too late. But I soon learned that in leadership, vulnerability is a strength. So every assignment I turned in was a victory over that doubt I had in myself. And the experience has taught me to hold steady in my role today. So when things get difficult, because I know I can find the strength inside me, even when I'm shaking, like today. So my social work degree, it taught me the theory, but my life taught me the connection. By reflecting on my own history, I realised that we cannot lead others if we don't understand ourselves. In my role now, this allows me to build authentic bridges with clients and families. I don't just see a case, I see a person navigating a difficult chapter. My connection to my own struggle is what allows me to lift as I grow, ensuring that my leadership is always rooted in compassion. And today I still carry the journey I had. 2011, I actually graduated, but I carry that journey in every care plan and every team meeting I hold. My greatest takeaway is that adaptation is a mindset, and I treat every challenge as a school day. One of my mantras, everybody will often hear me say, is every day is a school day. It's an opportunity to learn something new about a client, a colleague, or myself. And I feel I lead today with the belief that my competence as a leader is only as strong as my compassion as a human being. And I feel it's also never too late to thrive and embrace the story that made you.
I just wondered if anybody had anything to reflect back on that. Maybe there was something in there that resonated. Yeah. Yeah, Chloe.
Thank you. I put it in the chat, but the thing you said really early on in what you were sharing about the energy we bring to work is our own responsibility hugely resonated with me. There's a couple of people in our team who are really impacting on everybody, and it's their place that they are in at the moment. Absolutely, we need to work and support them, but also help them perhaps realise the impact they're having on everybody else as well. And that takes back to the thing you said earlier. We're not going to dismiss them at all, but it's that kindness perhaps of being over about some of these behaviours and how they more widely impact. So you've given me something really challenging but hopefully positive to think about, so thank you.
Yeah, and I think it is as simple as saying, like, you know, okay, you're struggling, we can help you with what you're struggling with. However, the way you are bringing this to work, that is on you. You know, and I think we can all get in a bit of a rut at work, or, you know, not every day is perfect at work, you know, it's work, but it's how we come forward, and we don't have to be all, you know, all the time, but I think, you know, is that we don't have to drag everyone down with us either.
And I think it's having that feedback and having that, and I know from our experience, you've given me feedback that maybe was a little bit negative. However, the way it come across, actually, it's helped me learn, it's helped me build, and actually, I am grateful that I can go to Liz and go, once we press the off button, that was rubbish, you know, and she will be able to give me that feedback where I need to learn, and having that within the team is just an amazing feeling. And I think people would appreciate it if it sort of is not, it's top down to the rest of the team.
Thank you both. Nafissa has commented as well that mistakes are not mistakes, they are a learning curve. That's a lovely little anecdote.
And they are just about being human, you know, we're not perfect. It's okay.
Yeah.
We've just got our final slide then, I guess.
Oh,
2 minutes.
Fee's just quickly popped a message on before I bring that up. It's about be what you want others to emulate as well. So be that role model. Fee's put in the chat box about a video that she's seen of a mum doing a dance, and then the kids in the kitchen start doing the same. Sort of you copy what you see, don't you? So be that role model for people. So if you want feedback, give feedback.
Yep.
Oh, I've just realised I've moved the slide along without sharing it. Apologies. There we go.
So this is just around the 4 C's of modern leadership: confidence, competence, compassion, and collaboration. For me, confidence doesn't mean the absence of self-doubt. It's choosing to lead with courage and authenticity, even when you don't have the answers. We talked about this all along. We just don't have all of the answers, guys. We've learned that real confidence comes from being grounded in our values, knowing what matters, and leading as yourself, not as who you think you should be. That's really important.
Yeah. And for me, leadership today is about pairing competence with compassion. It's about learning continuously and leading with heart, and recognizing that strength and empathy aren't opposites. They belong together. The best leaders I have known are the ones who lift others as they grow themselves.
And finally, from me, I think it's also about being human. I've said it just now. It's human to get things right. Acknowledging that we don't always get it right is okay. Someone put in the chat just a minute ago, sometimes it is okay not to be okay. Like we are multifaceted human beings, and the human experience of life is sometimes happiness, sometimes sadness, getting it wrong, getting it right. We're all of those things, and we're not just leaders. We're women with families, with partners, with lives. We've got a whole life going on here. And so what matters is how we respond, how we learn, and how we stay connected. So for me, connection is absolutely everything.
Yep. And when we lead from that place of confidence and compassion, we create workplaces where people feel seen, supported, and safe to be themselves.
And then I think, it would be really good to know what would be one action that you might take from today. My cat is trying to get into the room, by the way. She's a little bit distracting. Sorry, just thought I'd
a little bit
there.
Scary as well.
It's a bit scary. Yeah, but it'd be great to know what action you might take from today. Or if there's anything that particularly resonated, if this was helpful, gosh, any feedback would be welcome.
I've just brought up Slido again. Part of setting a goal and committing to it is that it's in writing. So if you've still got access to Slido, what is one action that you will take away from today's session? Please feel free to type that. Again, it's anonymous. We'd love to see what those actions are. There's also the chat box that you've still got access to as well. We'd love your feedback on how you feel the session has gone, what you felt was positive, what you would like to learn further, and how we can help you support you with that in the following modules. Claire and Liz talked around resilience being built through psychological safety, trust and accountability, and we hope that today you felt seen and heard, and that you have some top tips and takeaways that are from trustworthy sources, Liz and Claire, as they've tried and tested them for you. And we hope that you now take that accountability to reflect on what you've learned today, those practical insights and case studies, and take away an action for you to implement for yourself and also take back to your teams as well. We've got a couple of minutes for any final questions before we close out today, so please feel free at this opportunity to either put questions in the chat box or unmute while we've got a couple of minutes. I think I've still got the Slido up, haven't I? Can you see? Yeah, lovely that's filling up. Fabulous.
Yeah.
I'll just read a couple of them out. To reflect before reacting. So that goes back to that pause, sense, respond. Adaptive leadership. So look at those personal case studies to help support other leaders. Feel more confident. Give more time to listening. Look at the resources that you shared, particularly the LinkedIn ones. Take forward the conversation about the energy we bring to our work is our own responsibility. That was one of the comments in the chat box. Fabulous. I'll close the Slido down for now, but it's still running in the back end. So if you've not had the opportunity yet, please do put your actions on there. Feedback in the chat as well. That'd be fabulous.
And just, from Claire and myself, thank you so much for being here, being really open and also really engaging. We were very nervous that maybe we'd ask questions and people would just kind of be quiet and a bit of tumbleweed going through. So it's been great that you've engaged with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's another skill that we sort of add in, and hopefully the confidence will grow as we do more and more.
Yeah.
Well, a huge thank you, Liz and Claire, for kicking us off with this first module of the 8-part series, for your energy in the room today as well, and for sharing your personal stories of resilience. We look forward to seeing you all on module 2, which will take place on the 12th of February. We'll hear from member Dr. Claire Mould, building on resilience, looking at models for personal stress management, how to build in daily habits and embed these into your routines. As I said, we'd We'd love your feedback on this session in the chat box before you go, and then feel free to leave. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again for being part of this programme. Thank you again to Liz and Claire.
Thank you guys.
Big well
Thank you
done.
so much.
Thanks everyone.